Welcome, everyone. I hope you're having an amazing day. Honored to be connecting in with you. And in May, we've been talking about the silver lining. I look at kind of the saying you may hear out there: April showers brings May flowers. So, what is that silver lining? What are the things that we can really stand on, claim, own, and step forward, no matter what our circumstances are, no matter what challenges we have faced or we might be facing? There's always a way forward. There's always a silver lining. And today we have two amazing guests I know that you're going to love. I'm just getting to know them, and I'm so impressed by them and what they stand for and are bringing forward. So I'm excited to share them with you. And as we come together, we're going to stand with you, help you find the silver lining, really look at how can you reclaim your voice, stand in your confidence, and build towards a financial future. So, we're talking about mindset, truth, purpose, and even looking at the finances and how can we have more choices as we go through time. I hope you're excited for this conversation today. I know I am. I feel it's so timely for us to come together to find our truth, to claim it, and be able to step forward powerfully. That's what we're going to be talking about today. So I hope you can feel that energy. I hope that you are excited by that. And as you kind of drink in those thoughts and concepts and think about, wow, what is my voice? What is my truth? How am I aligning my life to match that? Am I stepping forward? Am I waiting for permission? If so, I want you to know we give it to you now. You have full permission if you happen to be waiting. So, what is it that you need today? What is it that will support and empower and encourage you? In fact, let's take a moment right now and dig into this and see. And I find when I take a moment and remember to pause, to breathe, to slow down for a moment. It's so easy to just go, 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 go. Next thing on the list, and suddenly the day has passed by. And you maybe even forgot lunch. So, right now, this is your time. I invite you to slow down, to become fully present, to take a deep breath, bring that oxygen in. We breathe shallowly sometimes. So, deep breath in through the nose, all the way to the toes. Feel that oxygen coming in and supporting you. Hold it for a moment. Breathe out like you're breathing out through a straw, releasing all that no longer serves with gratitude, but it's complete. And notice how that creates room and space for more, that you're open, ready to receive because you're here, there's something for you. That's why you're here. And I want you to receive it. I want you to have room and space and capacity to receive. So as you're taking those beautiful breaths, I invite you to keep staying present. There is enough time. Slow down. Close your eyes. You're absolutely safe. Taking another breath. And let's put both hands on our heart. I always like to bring the heart into our time together. And notice how that feels. Sometimes it feels really good. Sometimes it feels different. Like I haven't done this in a while. Just notice. As you're taking those breaths, eyes closed, both hands on your heart. Notice the beat by beat. And then the pause in between each beat of the heart. And in that quiet, still pause and pause and pause. What is your heart sharing with you today? What is it that you need? What is it that you are looking for, need, welcome, willing to receive? Is it a reminder? What's coming forward that you need and are willing to receive, especially as we're connecting around claiming your truth, claiming your voice, finding your confidence, stepping forward in an aligned, empowered way. What's coming forward? Beautiful. Receive that information. Take a deep breath. Open up your eyes, come back into the room fully present, and take a moment and write down what was laid on your heart. Let's have it stop swirling around in you, but let's bring it forward. Let's co create it. Let's bring it into the now by writing it down. And keep that in front of you through our conversation today, that you can write notes, things that touch your heart and spirit, something that impacts you, maybe a new practice you want to bring forward. Write those things down. And I hope by the end of our time together today, you have a page full of notes and your heart message is moving forward. Now I'm going to open up the lines here to our amazing guests and give them just a moment to share 15, 20 seconds, something that was laid on their heart when they took a moment to stop, pause, and listen. LaKiesha, I'd love to start with you. What was laid on your heart?
Yes, actually, when we first started talking, I said how I had a meeting directly after this. So having this pause really did help me center and focus on the present moment, not thinking about what I have to do later. So thank you for that.
You're so welcome. I love that. So often the past or the future robs us from the now. So it's so
Yeah.
important for us to be in the now when we have those opportunities. Thank you for sharing. I love that. Dr. Cindy, how about you? What was laid on your heart?
So I love that. And it's funny because right before we started this, I was talking about how having a deep breath today was something I really needed. And this was kind of the only rest I was probably going to get today. So as we were sitting there breathing, the word that just kept coming to me and the word that I actually wrote down was rest.
Mm,
And so there's something around that. And I think that's just going to be my journal exercise later today is around rest
I,
and something around bringing that a little bit more forward.
I love that. I love that. And I love that you're journaling because I think there's just so much that can come forward in that. And so writing these insights down and then scheduling time later, this is a great tool and tip listeners already to add to practices that can support you. When we have those insights come forward, it's easy to just notice them and then move on. And if we can remember to act on that and build in a time to explore why that's coming forward. What does it mean? What can I do with that message? I think it can really enrich our lives and our experience because there's a reason something is touching our heart and coming forward. So I really appreciate you sharing that, Dr. Cindy. Thank you.
Absolutely. I'm a big journaler, so I love that.
I am as well. I was doing that earlier this morning. So journaling's a big part of my life as well. Makes a big difference. So thank you both for sharing. And listeners, I'm curious whether you are a journaler or not. So love knowing that and taking a couple moments here as we go to the commercial break to really stay present in the now. I love how Lakeisha's reminding us of that to stay in the now and really receive what's coming forward and even take a moment. You have 2 minutes. You can take a moment and write down maybe a couple journal thoughts, things that are bubbling up. And we'll continue our conversation in just 2 minutes. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed those 2 minutes that you put down a couple of thoughts, writing it down. That's the beginning of journaling for people who journaling might be new to it. It's just a way to start to capture your thoughts and write them down and interact with them. I find for myself, those things can swirl around in me and distract me and ping at me and pull at me. And when I get them out of me, I kind of flush them out onto paper. I'm able to see them differently and interact and move forward in things. That's a lot of times how I will use journaling. So, for people who it might be a new thing to, that's one way that you can look at journaling. Today, I hope that you wrote down some key things that are on your heart because there's a reason they're coming forward. And I know our guests are going to help support you in those things that are coming forward. With that, I'm excited to introduce our first amazing guest. You heard from her in our opening segment talking about rest. And I think many of us are like, wow, I need a little more rest. So I feel like we all have that connection with Dr. Cindy already. And here's just a little bit more about her background. So Dr. Cindy McGovern is a leadership expert, keynote speaker, Wall Street Journal bestselling author with advanced degrees in communication and leadership. She combines practical strategies with real world insights as she supports and helps those that she walks beside. Her latest book, The Permission Mission, explores how challenging self doubt can unlock and help you gain greater confidence in leadership. She's passionate about helping you trust your voice and step forward powerfully. Please lean in. Warmly welcome the dynamic and powerful Dr. Cindy McGovern to the show. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. It's such a pleasure to be here with you today. And thank you again for that amazing breath. That was such a great moment to start with.
You are so welcome. And it's always great to have plenty of oxygen and
Yes.
those pauses throughout our days. So I'm happy to always stop, pause, and breathe. And I wanted to start our conversation with why? Why is this work of helping people in these ways so personally important to you?
So I am a consultant for business and I work a lot with coaching women in leadership positions. And over the last 20 years, I started noticing a trend where there were these incredibly confident women who were struggling with still giving themselves this opportunity to move forward. And I noticed it wasn't confidence, it wasn't lack of skill, it was actually a lack of permission. It was like they had this invisible velvet rope in front of them that was preventing them from moving forward. And I started recognizing it in so many incredible ladies. And so I said, I have to help this. So that became sort of my own mission. And that sort of gave birth to the permission mission. And that's started the whole thing.
I love it. And I love the title, by the way, of that book, The Permission Mission. That's just
Thank you.
catchy, powerful, and impactful.
Thank you.
So yeah, you're welcome. And observing this, that I love how you're saying that it's not that they are lacking confidence or success, but somehow there's this just velvet cord in front of them that they're waiting for somebody to remove or say now is your time or come forward or you can take this step. What do you how do you find women start to one recognize that might be there, and how do they start to move through that once they realize, wow, I have been waiting, I don't know why, but I have.
So for so many of us, it takes an external catalyst. It's a girlfriend, a friend of ours, or somebody that says, why do you do that? Why are you sitting there waiting? And it's a little bit of the power of taking our own advice, right? We can do it for somebody else, but it's really hard to do it for ourselves. And so we look at our girlfriend, we're like, you're so amazing, you're so powerful. Why can't you just do that? And then we have to stop and go, oh my gosh, why do I do this to myself? Why can't I just get out of my own head? And I call them our backup singers, that we all have these sort of voices we battle with on a daily basis in our minds. And it's getting those voices sort of singing in harmony so that you
Mm.
can move forward. But it's recognizing it first. And that's the key is you have to have that recognition of the fact that this is a pattern that you have. And that's the first step.
How do we start to recognize? So girlfriends or those outside of us asking why is a great way to realize, oh, I don't know. But are there other indicators we could maybe start paying attention to around that?
Absolutely. So one is, everybody talks about your comfort zone. Well, the comfort
Mm.
zone isn't usually that comfortable after all. It's just a familiar zone, is what I call it.
I love that. Yes.
It's all that happy as it turns out. And so if you're in this comfort zone, as people say, there's more for you. You start to get this itch. You get this, there's more for me. You get this little inkling in the back of your mind going, but I want more. I want something else. There might be some fear, there might be some questions, a little self-doubt maybe, but there's something else. Pay attention to that. When you leave a room and you start kicking yourself and you go, oh, I should have spoken up. Pay attention to that. That is your inner voice telling you. And she knows her stuff. That gal knows what she's talking about.
Mm.
But you have for so long quieted her. What that is doing is telling you she's ready to talk. She's ready to be heard. That is the most powerful voice in the room. Give her a chance to talk.
Wow. I think those are some really great insights and tips. And you're absolutely right about that comfort zone. Maybe it should be called the familiar zone is perhaps a better term there for how we talk about the comfort zone, and recognizing that we can really trust that voice, that she does know her stuff and she's ready to speak and share more. So part of this I'm hearing is this recognizing it's there, awareness, and then being able to start to step forward. So how do we remove that velvet line and
Yeah.
be able to start stepping forward? Is there a step or a quick tip? And I know it's a process, but maybe a starting place for people.
Yeah. So those backup singers are
Mm-hmm.
really important because they served a purpose in our lives. So one of the ones that I always hear is my grandmother's voice. And,
Mm.
we don't necessarily hear them, but I think you all know what I mean. She taught me how to look both ways before I cross the street. Very important lesson when I was 5. But she also was born in 1916. And so her experience as a woman in the world was very different than mine. So the lessons she taught me about being an adult woman maybe don't necessarily apply to the day and age that we're in now.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to think about and weigh the advice she gave me about being a woman in the world against reality today, first of all, but also what's right for me. But so often we allow those voices of the past to continue to guide us when maybe they don't fit right now. So it's almost like thinking about things in your closet. Do the fashions of yesteryear still fit? Maybe not. So you have to clean out your emotional closet and decide which voices from the past still fit your future that you want for yourself, and which voices you're willing to listen to the advice from. And that's the first step because most often you're still allowing those voices to dictate what you're going to do and what you're willing to do in the future. And that's why you're either staying stuck, you're playing small, or you're holding yourself back because you're playing by a rule system that was dictated to you that maybe was from, 100 years ago, perhaps. So watch that, take that emotional inventory, and then decide which rules stay and which rules go.
Thank you for sharing that. I love that example in the closet, because if you don't clear out that closet once in a while, it does get crowded. So it can be lots of voices and they don't fit right anymore. They're not aligned, or it's not current for who you are and what you're becoming. And it can be hard to hear those voices with all the crowdedness. And
Absolutely.
it can even be operating in autopilot. We haven't stopped and even checked. We're just kind of going.
And that is a big piece of it, is the autopilot, is we just keep going forward. And we're so busy as people in the world right now. We are just such busy humans that that autopilot does happen. So that's also why I loved the breath, is it forces us to pause and think about what did land on your heart. How are you feeling today? And paying attention to that. And that's also why I love journaling so much, is what comes up for you, paying attention to that little voice inside of you that's going, no, I actually am not super happy here. I'm not super comfortable. This isn't as comfortable as I convinced myself it was. Maybe there is more. If that's coming up for you and continuing to come up, start working on that emotional closet, because there's definitely something there. Your voice is asking to be heard. Let her be heard.
And let her be supported with the right
Yes,
look and feel and backup singers
absolutely. Give her the right
that
backup
that
singers.
align. Yeah, I love that. I love that. Thank you for sharing. And I'm even thinking in that journaling and exploring something that you highlighted again about this comfort zone, quote unquote. And I think that's a really great thing to explore. Are you in just a familiar zone that you're really good at doing and managing? Or is it truly comfortable? Is it truly exciting and empowering and fulfilling? I think those are
Mhm.
really great things to explore too, because we can just get into this what we call comfortable. I'm comfortable. I don't want to move. I don't want to change. I don't want to look in the closet. I just
Right,
want to
right.
keep going. Anything you would add to that?
Absolutely. Denial is quite powerful.
Mm,
And that can also be a comfort zone. It's easier just to kind of brush it under the rug and keep on going. And we give ourselves a lot of excuses. We say, "Oh, I'll do it when the kids go to college. I can do it at a later date. Oh, I can't do it now because of this, 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 this." You've created that reality for yourself. You can do it now. You can do it in this moment. The whole thing that's holding you back is permission.
mm,
The only permission you need is your own.
beautiful.
Period. Full stop.
Yep. Mic drop.
Yeah.
Love it. Thank you. A very, very powerful, wonderful things for us to be exploring and looking at and spending a little bit of time to see what's coming forward. And I love that. Only permission we need is the permission we give ourselves. Truly powerful. One, I know the time is going so fast, and I do want to touch on one other concept because I hear this a lot in this space, and it's imposter syndrome. And I'd love to share what is that? And what can we do about it, or what is that telling us? How
Yeah.
can that support us to understand it?
So imposter syndrome is where you feel like you don't belong, right? And this comes up all the time. And by the way, everyone has it. Men have it, women has it. And I actually talk about it in my latest book, where Tom Hanks is very vocal about having it as a very famous actor. I think it's a wonderful thing, quite frankly. I think imposter syndrome is a magical thing, and it is a constant co-pilot if you are growing, because it
Mm,
only shows up when you're at the edge of that familiar zone. It doesn't show up when you're super comfortable. It only shows up when you're pushing yourself. So I say, give your constant co-pilot a little nickname. I call mine Kara. And I
mhm.
tell her, buckle up, Buttercup, because we're doing this thing. So let's go. And and I think it's a positive, because if you really are looking to grow, if you really are wanting something more, that imposter syndrome should be there. And so it's not a bad thing. It's gotten a bad rap. I say, let's do it, expect it to be there, and then know how to handle it.
I love it. And just for those of us who it might be a new term for, what is imposter syndrome?
Imposter syndrome is that feeling that somebody's going to find you out, that you're faking it, that you got here on luck, that you don't really belong, you don't have the skill set, you don't have the accolades in some way, shape, or form. So like Tom Hanks is afraid that somebody's going to find out he's not really a great actor, or Guys, everybody has that feeling that we somehow got here on some stroke of luck. Everybody's got it. You belong in the room that you're in. Trust me. Nobody's that lucky on the planet. You got there because you deserve to be there. You have the seat at the table. Sit down. It's got your name on the back of it.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. I
Absolutely.
appreciate that. And I love that if we're growing and stretching, that imposter syndrome bubbling up, those voices saying that you don't belong here, you just whatever are lucky you got here, aren't true. And it's an indication that you're growing, you're stepping into new spaces, but your name is there. It is on the table, it is on the label, it is your space. So own it. I love that. Any final thought or share?
I just want to remind people that everything you need to get what you want, you already have. It's already within you. It's simply allowing yourself to hear it. That internal voice has been there all along. It's about reclaiming it and trusting it. That is truly what it is. It's reclaiming the power to trust your own voice. That's the key.
Thank you, Dr. Cindy. I appreciate it. So
Thank
much
you.
wonderful, absolutely, so much wonderful wisdom and things for us to journal about, reflect on. And I think all of us, me included, I'm going to go look at my closet and
Hey,
see, and I'm going to
good.
look at my actual physical closet and others because it's a great way to see what's showing up for me and to journal about and explore. So I really appreciate your time and sharing today. We are getting ready to go to our next commercial break. And as we do so, listeners, this is a great opportunity to write down a few things that really impacted you or you want to reflect on more. We promise to share all of Dr. Cindy's contact information towards the end of the show. So stay tuned. We will make sure you're able to connect. But for now, stay present in the now and really see what's coming forward. And we'll continue our conversation in just 2 minutes. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that pause, that moment to write down some of your thoughts and maybe, thinking about what is in my closet or what is this my comfort zone or is this a familiar zone? How do I feel about all of that? So, really giving yourself an opportunity to do so. And one of the areas I find that people can listen to backup singers maybe that aren't as supportive, stay in our comfort zones, be a little bit nervous. Or I found I was a financial advisor for a lot of years, and I found people just didn't want to talk about the money stuff. They would just shove it in the closet and never want to look at what was going on in there unless they absolutely had to deal with something. So we can have this avoidance or denial or I don't want to look or fear. And yet, when I found people were willing to look, they then became empowered because they understood where they were at. They understood where the dollars were going and they could make choices around that and became empowered. So I'm really excited today to have another financial perspective that we can bring into our conversation because this can help us be empowered and supported in our life in how we're looking at our time, our energy, claiming our voice, and how we're looking at finances, or are we looking at them? So I think it's an important area for us to explore and take a look at. So I'm excited to introduce our next guest. LaKiesha Tomlin is an investing trading mentor who helps busy professionals build financial confidence. So, confidence again, and flexibility. A Yale MBA and former aerospace and defense engineer turned trading after being laid off. And that became an opportunity where she got to transform a difficult season into an opportunity for financial growth and freedom. How powerful is that? She's passionate about helping you gain confidence and have more financial opportunities. Please lean in. Warmly welcome the dynamic and brilliant LaKiesha Tomlin to the show. Welcome.
Hey, thanks so much, Rebecca, for having me.
You are so welcome. And I love your mixture of background. It's very unique and powerful and shows just a lot of different parts of your brilliance that you're bringing together into what you do. So I love that.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wanted to see why. Why is this, of all the different choices you have, why is this the area that you focus on and are so passionate about helping others with?
Yes. So the financial piece for me actually came a lot later. So I grew up probably like most people where there wasn't always money. I heard things like money doesn't grow on trees and all these other things. And I remember being a kid and just, wondering, well, why is it, that, for us, money doesn't grow on trees. There's never enough money where, you watch TV or something like that, and there's kids, that's getting like a new bike for Christmas or, a new car or something like that when they turn 16. And, I wanted to know, well, how can I, once I become an adult, become someone that could afford these things and not really have to think about it as much? So well, part of the reason why I went into engineering, not completely, because anyone who has done the curriculum and taking advanced math, like beyond calculus, which I didn't even know existed, would not go into that field just for the potential pay. So, part of it was obviously interest and just being curious, being good at math and science, and then, of course, the pay. So, fast forward, and once I got to a point where I graduated college and started paying for things on my own, being responsible for rent and the light bill and all these other things and paying for my own cell phone bill, where at first my mom was paying for it. So, got off that, planned that gravy train, at least in that aspect, really quickly. I wanted to know how can I, set myself up financially? And then that led me on a path of personal finance and investing.
Beautiful. And I love how these questions and curiosities that started as a young child have just carried forward. And that curiosity, like how can I not a fear from not necessarily even believing that backup singer that it can't happen, but how how does this work? How can I make
Yeah.
that happen? How does like a puzzle that you're learning, exploring, and figuring out? I think that's really powerful and a great thing for us to think about. Are we being curious about asking that how or what can I do to do that instead of assuming we can or it just has to always be the way it was? I think that's really powerful in your story. And then when you had this moment where you're kind of building your life, right? And you have some of that interest that you're working on, and then you're laid off, and suddenly, especially financial stability and things were important to you, and the
Yeah.
opportunities, it's like that all gets shaken a bit. So, how did you take that opportunity when you were being laid off and to focus in on trading, and how did that support and shift things for you?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So, when I graduated and I talked about, starting this journey of personal finance and investing, it actually started many years ago where I started investing. And for people who don't know what investing is, it's basically just, putting your money into something and letting it sit for many, many years and watch it grow, hopefully. So that's pretty much investing. And trading is more of short-term investing. So I started my journey of short-term investing around at this point almost 5 years ago. Wow. So just trial and error, getting some mentorship over the years. And funny enough, somewhat, when I got laid off at that point, I was in a trading mentorship. It was maybe my fourth or fifth, just because I'm the type of person where I believe that if I continue to invest in myself and improve my skill, then it's going to lead to great things. So during that time, I was in a mentorship, and then unfortunately, I got laid off due to a reduction in force and basically just a huge restructuring of the organization. And myself and others, were in that number. And fortunately, I had given myself permission years ago to understand the markets and to figure out how can I do this thing for myself. And it grew into something incredible. So I had some, different attempts in the past that weren't successful, but I just kept going and I figured out what went wrong. So basically, for you engineers out there, something like root cause corrective action, where I'm trying to get to the root of why this didn't work out. And then from there, I started to see some success. And fortunately, by the time I was laid off, I did have, some money growing, for me. And I was able to continue growing that money even after the layoff. So just basically just over time, just improving and just, taking action when things weren't so dire and things weren't urgent really helped me to be better prepared for when things were urgent and I needed to figure out, okay, how am I going to continue to pay my student loans and all these other things, when the layoff came.
Thank you for sharing. I feel like there's so much insight and wisdom in what you're sharing and this perspective. And it even ties into that waiting for permission thing too. I love how everything fits together that we sometimes don't choose to invest in ourselves. We wait for a company to pay for something or someone else to fund something, or we just choose not to invest. And I think it makes such a difference in our life when we are willing to, yes, I want to learn that. I want to go on a personal growth journey, or I want to discover that, or I want to grow in this area. And it's not dependent on anyone else or any company or anyone else sponsoring it. I want that. I'm investing in that. I want to grow in that area and I want to bring that into my life. And when we're willing to do that, I think it does help us when we have major changes because we're already in this growth way of being. And we're able to have those more skills and resilience and all kinds of things because we've taken ownership and choice for how we're navigating our life. And I love that you've done that. And it continues to be in that financial area that's just been a continued interest and,
Yeah.
and curiosity of yours that you've been able to do that. And so even when I looked at some of the information you sent me ahead of time, I noticed that you were also talking about how at some point you were doing that on the side, then you got laid off and that really helped. And then at some point you shifted completely to this being what you do instead of it being a side thing. Do you mind sharing a little about that?
Yes, absolutely. So when the layoff came, basically, I'm not the type of person that just sits around and do nothing. Like, I mean, I could binge watch some things on, one of these streaming companies, but after a while, it gets really boring, and I feel like I need to be doing something. So it got to a point where I started to just really think about, okay, well, I'm making money from the markets, and this is literally paying for bills, which is amazing. So with that being said, I wanted to just focus on, okay, how could I get better? Because the markets are always changing. There's always new information. There's always new companies popping up on the markets. And I just want to make sure that I understand what's happening. So it was more of me just leaning into, the fact that, yes, this is a layoff and I have this time. What could I be doing in this time in order to make sure that I'm getting the most from it? So the financial markets and just really going into it was part of it. And now, I'm really glad that I did because when I look back even 6 months ago, I'm definitely reading the market a lot better, even though it's been very volatile this past year. I've been able to find a level of success in it and still able to maintain all the financial responsibilities that I have, and that's something that I want for other people. I grew up basically just seeing friends and family members always being in this position where, maybe the company's downsizing and they have zero savings or very little savings. And then they have to rely on outside help, friends and family, in order to be able to maintain and take care of just basic needs. And that to me is just very heartbreaking because I believe that if more people had more conversations about money and how it's made, and now that we have the internet and so many other tools, I believe that if people educate themselves and do something with that information, they could put themselves in a better situation instead of having to rely on something like unemployment or other people, that can maybe help a little bit, but not, necessarily take care, of you completely, like you can when you find other ways to supplement your income in addition to a full-time job.
Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. And I love that this perspective of being able to have, to me, that's more freedom, even an opportunity to, and less pressure to be able to have
Yeah.
um, ways that you're able to have money support you and work for you, and that you get to have some control in saying that, I think is really, really powerful. Now I'm also curious, if people are like, I'm curious, I may want to explore something like that, for beginners out there, what's a mistake that they make and how can they avoid that?
Yes. So the number one thing that I see when people are interested in the markets, people will ask questions like, how much time does it take for me to learn and how fast can I start making money? When those are definitely the wrong questions to ask
Mm,
because it's kind of a mindset of like someone going to Las Vegas when the markets are, it's not Las Vegas. There's a lot of data and information that goes into what we may see represented in the markets. So that's the number one mistake. And the way to shift that is to come from a place of curiosity. Say, hey, I've been interested in the markets and understanding how it works. If I wanted to get started and maybe, this is something that's more long term for me in terms of building a financial future. Where do I start? So, starting with that long term mindset is something that's going to really help people who are interested in starting.
thank you for sharing that, and that curiosity, wanting to learn, wanting to grow, and expecting there to be learning opportunities. It's not just smooth sailing
Right.
always. I think is important in looking at that, and also that there is work and time and energy involved around understanding how it works and the different things you're considering investing in. So I think that's all important for people to think about. Any final thoughts or shares that you have for our listeners today?
Yes. So basically, if someone is interested, what they could do is just start with a simple Google search. I think that is the most, is the easiest and the way for people to understand, how things work.
Hmm.
And definitely reputable sites. So there's many out there. And basically, just, don't wait. A lot of people say someday, one day, or something like that. Those days never come. But being intentional and taking the first step then the next step, then the next step. That's going to be the best way to get your hands around understanding what it takes to build a secure financial future for yourself and for your family.
Beautiful. Thank you. I so appreciate that. And many of us do have that someday, or when this happens, then I will. And today's the day that you get to have and to take action on and to make choices around. Really important reminder. Well, thank you, LaKiesha. I appreciate it. We are getting ready to go to our next commercial break. So, listeners, take a moment, write down some of your thoughts, things that are impacting you, and we'll be back in just a moment. Welcome back, everyone. I hope that you have a page full of notes. We started listening to our heart this morning, or this afternoon, or this evening, wherever you are listening to the show. But we started our conversation listening to our heart as we explored reclaiming your voice, confidence, financial freedom, really leaning into what you're wanting to bring forward. That silver lining when challenges come. What are you holding on to moving forward with? As you look at your notes, I want you to see, wow, it would really support me to spend a little more time exploring this or journaling. We've been talking about journaling today, or looking in the closet, or yeah, I do want to have more of that financial freedom and understanding and information. You know, really see what's pulling your heart, not what's familiar, quote unquote comfortable, but what's pulling you forward. And then at the end of today's show, take a couple moments, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes for you to pause and really look at that information and then take a step, take action, because you have today. We plan on tomorrow, but it's not guaranteed. And we don't know what that day will bring. But we know we have today, and we have this time that we can make choices and move things forward that matter to us. And you may find as you look at that page of notes, I could really use connecting in with Dr. Cindy and some of what she's up to, or LaKiesha, or both of them, or that book would be really helpful. So I'm going to have them share their contact information. Write this down. We're being very purposeful and intentional in sharing this with you so you're able to go deeper and connect further. So you have that opportunity. So, with that, Dr. Cindy, what's the best way to connect?
The best way to connect with me is drcindy.com, or you can find me at 1ST Lady of Sales on any of the social media platforms. And if you message me directly, um, with my new book, The Permission Mission, which you can buy anywhere books are sold, I will also give you access to my resource vault, which has lots of bonus chapters, reader discussion guides. So all you need to do is just message me directly on social media, and I'll make sure you get access to that vault.
Wonderful. Thank you. We
You're very
always
welcome.
love bonuses. So
Yeah, oh,
that's
yeah.
beautiful. Thank
Very
you.
fun. Absolutely.
Exactly. I love it. Thank you. LaKiesha, what's the best way for people to connect and go deeper?
Yes. So right now, the best way to connect with me is actually on LinkedIn. You can search for my name. My first name is spelled LaKiesha, Last name is Tomlin, Tomlin. And if you mention this podcast, I will share with you this free 7-day market starter kit. It's something that I wish that I had when I first started, basically helping you understand the basics of the market. And if you want to go a bit deeper, then you could go to lakeishatrades.com in order to explore that in-depth program there. Those are going to be the two best ways to connect with me.
Beautiful. Thank you. I appreciate it. And I love a starter kit as well. So
Yeah.
wonderful bonuses and opportunities for all of our listeners today. Thank you both. Listeners, thank you for being part of our show, for leaning in, for sharing this time and space with us. And I hope that you got some great value out of what we explored and talked about today. And I hope you take away some steps. You've added some tools to your toolbox. You've added some questions and perspectives to explore and look at, and some steps that you can take to help you move forward. Because even baby steps count, they still move you in a direction. So look for those baby steps and take them one step at a time. And remember that you are a gift. There's no one else like you in the world, no one who's walked how you have walked, and the perspective and wisdom and journey that you have gone on and you bring forward, and the way that you are made. So, the biggest gift you can give the world is being willing to share more of who you truly, authentically are. Be willing to share the gift of who you are and shine it out into the world. So, as we say, bloom where you're planted and shine. Have an amazing week, everyone, and we'll look forward to talking.